Thank you for joining us on Exclusive. And tonight we are actually celebrating the Republic of Cameroon's National Day.
The theme of our feast today was as follows: Defense forces and Cameroonian people in harmony to safeguard peace, national unity, bedrock for a strong and prosperous Cameroon. Yes, while many countries in Africa celebrate Independence Day, we in Cameroon singled out Unity Day because it is the day when, by referendum, the two parts of our fatherland, previously governed and divided and governed by the French and the British, decided to reunite and recreate one Cameroon, rich in diversity, rich of the diversity of his 280 ethnic groups, and proud of his unique heritage.
We're really honored to host His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Mohamedou Labarang, Ambassador of the Republic of Cameroon to Egypt, and the Dean of African Ambassadors, to congratulate him on Cameroon's National Day. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us, talking about bilateral relations between both countries, Egypt and Cameroon.
Thank you very much for giving me the occasion, and thank you for gracing our manifestation. As you said, as I said in my speech, this is a very unique day for Cameroon because it is the day of unity. Most of African countries, they celebrate their Independence Day. We celebrate our Unity Day because of the uniqueness of our history. And also, we are very happy to celebrate it here in Egypt because Egypt for us is a country that counts. For us is a country that leads the African affairs. So we are very proud to be here. And you saw that the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of African Affairs, who was here with us, we are really very grateful.
32 head of states participated at this summit, among whom was President Amadou Ahidjo, the President of Cameroon, and we were recently trying to read again the speeches of our head of states pronounced in the summit in Addis Ababa, and I noticed very clearly the reason behind the speech of President Ahidjo. There was at the time the vision, of course, of the African Union, the Union of African countries, but what was mentioned by President Amadou Ahidjo was very clear in terms of mentioning the kind of challenges and difficulties that all the African countries will face in achieving that objective and that vision of an African Union. As we are celebrating today the Unification Day of Cameroon, we have to remind ourselves of the theme and the major devise, la devise du Cameroun, la patrie, le devoir et la paix, n'est-ce pas? And I hope that this will be the case for all African countries, especially Sudan, that is facing today serious difficulties that threaten the unity and the stability and the prosperity of that state. Thank you very much.
Ambassador, we've been working hand in hand for the Africa that we aspire, and since the chairmanship of Egypt to the African Union, we've been really working hard together hand in hand, and under the leadership of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, we had achieved a lot for steps in order to consolidate this sense of partnership and work for the Africa that we aspire.
Yes, you know, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has a very important role, which one is the implementation of NEPAD. And you know, NEPAD is the new economic program for African development, and this program is devised to bring up all African countries together in the economic path. And so because of the leadership of President Sisi, our head of state, they gave him this responsibility, which is huge responsibility, because after the political union, now the time has come to make Africa one big market. If you want to have one big market, you have to have all the telecommunication, communication, logistics and everything. And NEPAD is this program that all head of state, they have decided to set up. And for them to give him this responsibility shows how much they really admire and how much they trust in him.
نحن لدينا مصير مشترك.
مصر تسلمت الرئاسة الدورية للاتحاد الإفريقي لعام 2019 وتتطلع كعادتها دوما للتعبير عن شواغل الشعوب الإفريقية الشقيقة الرامية لتحقيق الاستقرار والتقدم ودفع عجلة التنمية قدما. إذا كنتم ترغبون في تغيير وجه القارة الأفريقية، فالاتحاد الإفريقي كقيادة تستطيع أن تعمل وتدرس بشكل مركزي لمشروع عملاق لبناء بنية أساسية على مستوى القارة. أنا أتصور أن الأمن والاستقرار استثمار.
Hosting that important Congress in Sharm el-Sheikh and cooperation with the African Development Bank. Tell us more, Ambassador, about the economic cooperation on the economic file between Egypt and the African country.
Yes, now Africa has almost completed political unity. No African state is under colonization. Apartheid has gone. Now we have to really work for the development. And African Development Bank, as you know, is a tool that the African Union and the head of state they have created to finance all big investment projects, so that the aim of having Africa as a one big market should be achieved. So President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has decided to give this event his blessings, and that's why he invited other African head of states. This is a bank meeting, but you see head of states are coming, which means that President Sisi knows what he's doing.
During your mandate, Ambassador Labarang, many doors had been knocked in our sense of partnership and cooperation between Egypt and Cameroon. Would you kindly tell me more about the files that are there on the future agenda of our cooperation?
Well, as I said, you were speaking about the sports. Yes, Egypt and Cameroon, the minister said it, we are at loggerheads, but we are big countries, and we know. Many Cameroonians came and played they are known here in Egypt. And also we admire the Egyptian football team, the national football team. And every time when we are playing, nobody knows where the victory will be. But it was always be with Egypt. But we decided that at least once we could win. What we did during the Africa Cup in Gabon. Now, you saw we had this Africa Cup in Cameroon also. You saw how the population, they were backing Egypt, and Egyptians also were backing Cameroonians when we went before the final. So there is room for cooperation. Competition is good because it's sport. Because when you compete, then you see the champion emerge. So this is what we are going to do always with Egypt.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Dr. Mohamedou Labarang, Ambassador of the Republic of Cameroon to Egypt and the Dean of African Ambassadors, thank you so much for joining us, Ambassador, and congratulations on the occasion of the Republic of Cameroon National Day.
Thank you.
very glad to be together with the Cameroonese and Cameroon ambassador and all the staff, and especially because it's like the first time. We don't have to forget that the ambassador of Cameroon is also the dean of the diplomatic corps. His ambassador has been the longest time in Egypt, so he knows very well Egypt, he knows the region, and he has this delicacy also, this approach, and understands very well the position and the strategic position of Egypt in the world, especially in this region, in this moment. Cameroon also is a very interesting country, being a country which is both English and French speaking. So it's also a country which can also build bridges in that sense. And the ambassador is representing his country for such a long time, has got the possibility also to make Cameroon known in Egypt. And I think it's very important to have to place Egypt in its context of both a nation and an African country. And we know that Egypt is a leading country in the African continent. Therefore, this attention that Egypt is having for the African countries is fundamental. We know also that in the COVID-19, Egypt has done a lot also to help the other countries producing this special kit, which were fighting the epidemic in a very efficient way. That's why most African countries didn't have so many problems, because they reacted in a very positive and very intelligent way. I think all this is for us a way of rejoicing together for this national feast. After 4 years again, the national feast of Cameroon is being celebrated, and it's a great event, and with the presence of so many ambassadors from so many countries. Let's also pray that the situation in the nearby borders, for which also many African ambassadors have been involved. And I would have to say that the Egyptian authorities have been very cooperative to all the ambassadors and to all the missions, diplomatic missions, who took care of the nationals who were to flee from the conflict in Sudan. So all this is for us also an occasion. We're just sharing with other ambassadors this present situation, which is a preoccupation at the same time, but also saying that we received a good cooperation from the Egyptian authorities.
Thank you, dear viewers, for joining us on Exclusive. That was His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Mohamedou Labarang talking to us about achievements between Egypt and Cameroon, more important future files of cooperation, and the sky is always the limit.